Okay, let's dive right into this explainer of Daniel Kahneman's Nobel Prize-winning work by jumping straight into a little test for your brain. Seriously, I want you to get ready to observe your own mind in action right now. But quickly, before we continue, if you enjoy videos about psychology, mysteries, and fascinating facts, make sure to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Now, let's get started. We're looking at a monumental book called Thinking, Fast, and Slow. And to truly grasp the core concept that Kahneman presents, we really need to experience it firsthand.
So, look at this. 17 times 24. You immediately know it's a multiplication problem, right? You know you could probably solve it with a piece of paper and a pencil, but doing it in your head right this exact second, well, that requires something entirely different. If you actually try to solve it right now, pay close attention to what's happening to your body. You can literally feel the sudden mental strain. Your muscles are likely tensing up just a bit, your blood pressure is rising, and if I were looking really closely into your eyes, your pupils would be visibly dilating as you try to crunch those numbers. You are experiencing exactly what Kahneman calls slow thinking. And this brilliantly illustrates the two fictitious characters living inside your mind that Kahneman uses to explain our cognitive psychodrama. You have the freewheeling System 1 and the incredibly lazy controller System 2. Think of them as co-pilots in the cockpit of your brain. System 1 is fast, it's automatic, completely effortless, and highly impulsive. System 2, on the other hand, is the slow, deliberate, effortful, and highly logical part of your mind. So when you were staring at that math problem just a second ago, that was System 2, groaning and struggling to do the heavy lifting.
Let's look a little bit closer at System 1. You know, System 1 is really the secret hero running on automatic pilot. It effortlessly generates all the impressions, intuitions, and impulses that literally keep you alive and functioning every day. Its capabilities are absolutely vast, and it's constantly humming in the background. It allows you to instantly read giant billboards on the highway without even trying. It makes you automatically snap your head toward a sudden sound in the room. It's what allows you to effortlessly complete the phrase, bread and butter. It immediately knows the answer to 2 plus 2, and incredibly, it can instantly detect hostility in someone's voice. You don't consciously choose to do any of these things, they just happen to you. System 1 simply cannot be turned off.
Now, what's fascinating here is that System 2 genuinely believes it's the boss. It's the conscious, reasoning self that you identify as, well, you. But look at its actual demands. System 2 is required when you have to parallel park in a super narrow space, fill out a ridiculously complex tax form, count exactly how many times the letter A appears on a single page, or brace yourself for a starter gun at a race. It requires deep, laser-focused attention, and it is incredibly easily disrupted. I mean, if you try to multiply 17 by 24 while making a tricky left turn in heavy traffic, you are going to have a really bad time. By the way, if you're finding this interesting so far, take 1 second to hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. So System 2 has a very limited capacity, and as Kahneman points out, it is remarkably lazy. It vastly prefers to sit back, kick its feet up, and let System 1 run the show whenever it possibly can.
So what happens when the systems collide? It becomes a real cognitive psychodrama. Let's take a look.
Let's see how this conflict builds up when these two mental roommates are pitted directly against each other. What actually happens when the automatic impulses of System 1 violently clash with the deliberate goals of System 2? Try this classic cognitive experiment. Your task is to go down the columns and say out loud whether the word is physically printed on the left side or the right side of the space. Do not read the word itself, just say its physical location. If you try to read the position of these words out loud, you'll feel this painful, grinding friction. That's your System 2 trying to state the spatial location, while System 1 is automatically screaming out the written word. When the word left is printed on the right side of the screen, your System 1 instantly reads the text, creating a massive traffic jam in your brain, as System 2 struggles to override that impulse and just say right. That right there, that is the literal feeling of cognitive conflict.
And this conflict isn't just about reading words. It affects how we perceive reality itself. Take a look at the famous Mueller-Lyer illusion. Which horizontal line is longer? Your System 1 immediately, without hesitation, tells you that the bottom line is obviously longer. But if you were to take a ruler and physically measure them, your System 2 would calculate and realize they are exactly the same length. So here's the crucial point. Even when System 2 measures these lines and logically knows they are identical, System 1 cannot be turned off. It will always see that bottom line is longer. You now have a new belief, but your visual impression hasn't changed one bit. You simply have to learn to recognize the illusion and actively tell your System 2 to step in.
Let's move on to the window to the soul and look at the actual biological cost of thinking. To understand why System 1 usually wins these mental battles, and why System 2 is so incredibly lazy, we have to look at the intense biological cost of waking up System 2. Thinking hard isn't just a fun metaphor, it is a very real physical exertion that violently drains your body's resources. Kahneman and his colleague Jackson Beatty actually proved this in a basement laboratory using something called the AD1 and AD3 experiments. In these lab tests, researchers physically measured the sheer effort required to hold and manipulate numbers under intense time pressure. Participants would listen to a metronome beating every single second. They'd hear 4 random digits. They had to hold those digits in their working memory, add 1 or 3 to each of those individual digits, and then speak the completely new transformed string of numbers perfectly in rhythm.
What they found was absolutely astonishing. They discovered that during these extreme mental sprints, a person's heart rate spikes and their pupils dilate by up to 50%. Kahneman noted that looking at the changing size of a person's pupils was essentially a window into their soul, or at the very least, an exact electricity meter for their cognitive effort. The exact moment a person gave up on the math problem or finally found the answer, their pupils instantly shrank back down to normal size. This proved beyond a doubt that thinking hard is an exhausting physical act. We literally have a biological limit to how much System 2 can do before it just taps out.
Which naturally leads us to our next major principle, the law of least effort. Because mental effort acts just like a limited electrical grid in your house, your brain has evolved to avoid tripping the circuit breaker. We naturally pace ourselves to avoid complete mental overload, which brings us to a foundational rule of human behavior, the law of least effort. The definition states, if there are several ways of achieving the same goal, people will eventually gravitate to the least demanding course of action. In the economy of human action, mental effort is a severe cost. System 2 is inherently lazy, meaning it will almost always default to the fast, easy, and sometimes wildly biased judgments of System 1 simply to save energy. I mean, why spend precious calories doing complicated mental math when you can just go with your gut feeling, right? This is exactly why we are so prone to cognitive biases. Our brains are literally just trying to conserve battery life. By understanding this framework from Kahneman's book, we can begin to recognize when our lazy System 2 is completely failing to monitor our impulsive System 1. We can actually start to catch ourselves when we are jumping to wild conclusions or blindly trusting a gut instinct that is actually just a misfiring mental shortcut. We can learn to hit pause, force our pupils to dilate a little bit, and consciously engage System 2 when the stakes are high, rather than just coasting through life on autopilot. I want to leave you with this amazing thought directly from Kahneman's introduction. He wrote, "It is much easier as well as far more enjoyable to identify and label the mistakes of others than to recognize our own." Knowing what you know now about your wonderfully lazy inner controller, how many of your daily choices are actually yours, and how many are just cognitive illusions being fed to you by System 1? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to see new uploads. Leave a comment below with your thoughts or suggest a topic for the next video. See ya in the next one.